All right, first you flick this switch, then this switch. That activates it. Then you push this button, which will give you 5 minutes to get out of there. Now, whatever you do, don't push this button, because that will set off the bomb immediately and we'll all be dead. Now, repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
That's right.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
No, that's exactly what you just said. How is that even possible? Which button is the button you're supposed to push? Point to it. No!
Hey, you're making him nervous!
Shut up and give me some tape. Does anybody have any tape out there? I want to put some tape over the death button.
Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the May 2nd, 2017 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronocrypt Network. It was really tempting to do this week's podcast entirely in Groot speak, but no. Instead, we're going with more of a general comic theme. This week's birthdays include Wonder Woman's Gal Gadot, Spider-Man's Kirsten Dunst, Punisher Warzone's Julie Benz, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from Transformers Prime and G.I. Joe Retaliation, Christina Hendricks from All-Star Superman, Man of Steel's Henry Cavill, Batman and Robin's George Clooney, and Adrian Palicki from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starting with the box office report, a speedy family got their marvelous turkey. At number 10 is Unforgettable, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is Gifted, down 1 from 8th. At 8 is Smurfs The Lost Village, down 3 from 5th. In 7th is Going in Style, down 3 from 4th. And finishing up this week's spot on 5 is Beauty and the Beast, down 3 from 3rd. The top 5 this week begin with new release The Circle, premiering to $9 million. That's well below expectations, and it probably won't get much better based on the D+ cinema score and an 18% critical reception, which is really disappointing given the Tom Hanks, Emma Watson, and John Boyega star power. Oh well. In 4th place is The Boss Baby, down 2 from 2nd with $9.4 million to a total of $148.8 million. In 3rd place is new release Bahubali 2, The Conclusion, pulling down an impressive $10.4 million across 425 theaters. You know, it pays to premiere on weekends with repeat winners and no significant competition. In 2nd is new release How to Be a Latin Lover, debuting to $12.3 million. That's the largest opening for a Pantelian film, and with an A cinema score and 50% critical reception, it may stand a chance at picking up some of the leftovers from this week's highly anticipated new release. Scoring a box office turkey this week is The Fate of the Furious, spending its 3rd and probably last week on top, with $19.9 million out to a total of $193.3 million domestically and $1.1 billion worldwide. And that marks the 5th film for Universal Studios to break the milestone, joining the ranks of Jurassic World, Furious 7, Minions, and Jurassic Park. Let's close out the box office report with a look at what was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2012, Marvel's The Avengers took number 1 with $207.4 million. Good God, has it really been 5 years? I guess it has. Even more amazing is that it's been 9 years this week since Iron Man started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Back to The Avengers, they broke Spider-Man 3's record for the highest weekend debut in May. They also broke The Dark Knight's record for the highest weekend debut for a superhero film. They broke the record for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 for the highest weekend debut in summer, a 3D film, and for all time. And they also became the first film to gross $200 million in one weekend. To top it all off, Marvel's The Avengers had the highest weekend debut of 2012. 10 years ago in 2007, Spider-Man 3 won the weekend with $151.1 million. Spider-Man 3's opening day gross of $59.8 million broke Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest record for the highest single-day tally of all time. It also broke Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest records for the highest weekend debut of all time in the summer, as well as Spider-Man's record for the highest weekend debut of May and for a superhero film. Spider-Man 3 was the first film ever to gross more than $150 million in one weekend, and it had the highest weekend debut of 2007. And for all the hate that it gets in geek circles, that's a lot of tickets, guys. Yeah, somebody enjoyed it. 20 years ago in 1997, Breakdown was the winner with $12.3 million. 30 years ago in 1987, The Secret of My Success took the title for a third week with $4.6 million. And 40 years ago in 1977, Annie Hall took the box office crown for a second week with $4 million. The box office premiere for May 5th is Hooked on a Feeling. This week's headliner is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, an action science fiction film from Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, and Dave Bautista.
You know why I did it, Star Munch?
You're not gonna answer, Star Munch.
I did it because I wanted to. What are we even talking about this for? We just had a little man save us by blowing up 50 ships.
How little?
I don't know, like this?
A little 1-inch man saved us.
Well, if he got closer, I'm sure he'd be much larger.
Hey, that's how eyesight works, you stupid raccoon.
Don't call me a raccoon!
I'm sorry. I took it too far. I meant trash panda.
Is that better?
I don't know. It's worse. It's so much worse.
Set to the backdrop of Awesome Mixtape number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 continues the team's adventures as they unravel the mystery of Peter Quill's true parentage. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is rated PG-13. There are also 3 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of May 2nd, and I'll kick things off with new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with A Dog's Purpose, a drama starring Britt Robertson, Dennis Quaid, and Peggy Lipton. A dog looks to discover his purpose in life over the course of several lifetimes and owners. A Dog's Purpose is rated PG. Number 2 on the list is Rings, a horror film starring Matilda Anna Ingrid Lutz, Alex Rowe, and Johnny Galecki. Julia becomes worried about her boyfriend Holt when he explores the dark urban legend of a mysterious video said to kill the watcher 7 days after viewing. She sacrifices herself to save her boyfriend, and in doing so, makes a horrifying discovery. There's a movie within the movie that no one has ever seen before. Rings is rated PG-13. The third title is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, a comedy starring Brett Grant Ward Dalton, Neil Flynn, and Angela Johnson-Reyes. A former child star, now a washed-up celebrity, is stuck in his small hometown and is forced to do community service at a local megachurch. He then pretends to be a Christian so he can play Jesus in their annual Easter production. The Resurrection of Gavin Stone is rated PG. Swinging by new releases on digital video, I have 2 titles there. The first one is Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, a sci-fi horror film starring Milla Jovovich, Ali Larter, and Sean Roberts. Alice, Claire, and Wesker rush to the Hive, where the Red Queen plots total destruction over the human race. Resident Evil: The Final Chapter is rated R. The other title is Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage, an action film starring Vin Groot Diesel, Nina Dobrev, and Samuel L. Nick Fury Jackson. Xander Cage is left for dead after an incident, though he secretly returns to action for a new, tough assignment with his handler, Augustus Gibbons. Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage is rated PG-13. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we start things there with Rugrats, Season 1 from 1991 and Season 2 from 1992, starring Elizabeth Daily, Christine Cavanaugh, and Nancy Cartwright. A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do in the all-new DVD releases of Rugrats Season 1 and Season 2. Told from the perspective of a group of adventurous and imaginative toddlers, Rugrats transform the most mundane activities into unforgettable adventures. Led by fearless leader Tommy Pickles, the gang can turn an ordinary trip to the park into a journey across the Sahara in search of water, a visit to the plant nursery into a jungle trek to find a cure for jungle beaver, or a search for cookies into a prehistoric fantasy. Together, there's no adventure too big and no problem they can't solve, or at least nothing a good nap won't help. Number 2 on our list is The Last Ship, Season 3 from 2016, starring Eric Dane, Rona Mitra, and Adam Baldwin. In Season 3 of The Last Ship, the crew of the Nathan James is shifting attention to Asia after President Missioner hears that the Chinese leader has been hoarding the Scott cure instead of distributing it to the people in the region. Missioner sends Chandler to a global summit to investigate the allegation, as well as rumors of a possible mutation of the original virus. The final TV title is The 4400, the complete series, spanning 2004 to 2007, starring Jacqueline McKenzie, Joel Gretsch, and Patrick John Pfluger. When a comet hurtles toward Earth, what the world thinks will be the end of civilization turns into the beginning of an incredible conspiracy. In one instant, 4,400 missing people reappear in a flash of light. And Homeland Security's new mission is to uncover how and why. Emmy-nominated The 4400, the complete series, follows the mysterious returnees and the National Threat Assessment Command, the task force assigned to investigate them. Led by NATC Director Dennis Ryland, agents Tom Baldwin and Diana Scoris delve deeper into the inexplicable event and its supernatural consequences. As the drama unfolds, some of the returnees begin to exhibit supernatural powers, and the government must decide the source and purpose behind it all. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you two titles. The first is Saturday Night Fever, a drama from 1977 celebrating its 40th anniversary, starring John Howard St. Travolta, Karen Lynn Gorney, and Barry Miller. Tony is an uneducated Brooklyn teenager. The highlight of his week is going to the local disco, where he is king of the dance floor. Tony meets Stephanie at the disco, and they agree to dance together in a competition. Stephanie resists Tony's attempts to romance her, and she aspires to greater things. She is moving across the river to Manhattan. Gradually, Tony also becomes disillusioned with the life he is leading, and he and Stephanie decide to help one another start afresh. Saturday Night Fever is rated R. The other title is Smokey and the Bandit, a crime comedy from 1977, also celebrating its 40th anniversary, starring Burt Reynolds, Sally Aunt May Field, and Jerry Reed. The Bandit is hired to run a tractor-trailer full of beer over county lines in hot pursuit by a pesky sheriff. Smokey and the Bandit is rated PG. After this brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
Hello, Marvel Universe! The Earth Station MCU podcast is your home for all things related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Join our debrief as we discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, upcoming and past favorite Marvel movies, cosplay, comics history, toys, games, interviews, and all things MCU. Whether you're a hero or a villain, a new viewer, or have been reading comics since you were a kid, there's something for you on Earth Station MCU.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That's what we're going to talk about. Why? I'm super stoked for this movie. First up, James Gunn is coming back to write and direct Guardians Volume 3. Remember a few weeks ago when we learned he wasn't sure what he was gonna do after Volume 2 wrapped? Well, he's coming back right where he belongs, in the MCU, writing and directing Volume 3. When asked about the possibility of coming back, he said, "After many months of ruminations and discussions, I know the answer. I could save this answer for the first random interviewer to ask me during the press junket, but instead I thought I'd share it with the most important people in the Guardians verse. You, the fans, who have been so incredibly supportive and enthusiastic over the past 5 years. It has moved me to tears on a regular basis. So yes, I'm returning to write and direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In the end, my love for Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, Yondu, Mantis, Drax, and Nebula, and some of the other forthcoming heroes, goes deeper than you guys can possibly imagine. And I feel they have more adventures to go on and things to learn about themselves and the wonderful and sometimes terrifying universe we all inhabit. And like in both Volume 1 and Volume 2, we will work on creating the story that goes beyond what you expect. I can't freaking wait to get started." Much of what's happened in the MCU for the past 10 or so years has been leading in a big way to the Avengers Infinity War. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will happen after all that. It will conclude the story of this iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy and help catapult both old and new Marvel characters into the next 10 years and beyond. I will be working side by side with Kevin Feige and the gang to help design where these stories go and make sure the future of the Marvel Cosmic Universe is as special and authentic and magical as what we have created so far. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Also in Guardians news, we are not getting 1, not even 2, but 5 post-credit scenes. Also, pay attention to the credits and the Stan Lee cameo to top all Stan Lee cameos. Oh, and go check out the Volume 2 soundtrack on Spotify. You won't be disappointed, and quite possibly you will be dancing in your car, or chair, or whatever you happen to be sitting on at the time. In other Guardians of the Galaxy related news, Thor Ragnarok does not have the Guardians of the Galaxy tone despite all we have seen from the trailer. Well, the teaser trailer, but anyway, trailer. Instead of the Shakespearean mythological style of the first 2 Thor films, Ragnarok does promise to be more of an 80s action-adventure buddy road trip comedy about the end of the world. And with Taika Waititi, the guy who did What We Do in the Shadows, it's no wonder we're getting bright visuals and the shot of comedy Thor has so desperately needed. It wasn't long after the teaser trailer was released, however, that comparisons between it and Guardians Volume 2 began. But in a recent interview with Heroic Hollywood, Kevin Feige teased that Ragnarok is going to be less like Guardians than some fans might think. He said, "Well, I think I would say it's, and as people see more of Ragnarok, it's a Taika tone more than a Guardians tone. He's really adding a very unique point of view to it, but certainly the success of Guardians just boosted our confidence to continue to go in new, fun, weird directions. Personally, I'll believe it's not like Guardians when I see it. I'm sure it's not, but I mean, if you take a look at the teaser trailer and then you take a look at Guardians, it definitely has that feel to it." In not Guardians of the Galaxy related news, HBO is going to adapt Fahrenheit 451, and it stars Michael B. Jordan. Of all the books on my list of have not read, this one is at the top. I need to read it. For those like me who missed the book or need a refresher, Fahrenheit 451 is about a firefighter who burns books in a dystopian future where media is like a drug and books and history are outlawed. The book demonstrates the dangers of being distracted by more immediate thrills to the point where people in power can take away fundamental parts of our culture without opposition. That uncomfortable feeling you're having in your gut right now, that's called relevance. Now, via Variety, HBO is moving toward a production commitment on a feature-length adaptation of Bradbury's 1953 novel starring Michael B. Jordan as the protagonist, Guy Montag, and Michael Shannon as Montag's boss, Captain Beatty. This film will be directed by Ramin Bahrani, who is co-writing with Amir Naderi, and David Coatsworth will serve as producer. No date has been announced for the project, but most media outlets are speculating a 2018 release. And finally, we're getting another 10-episode season of The X-Files. Huzzah! I mean, okay, maybe huzzah, I don't know. As much as I love The X-Files, I stopped watching the latest series around episode 4. It got weird, and I heard it kept getting weirder, and then it slipped into some kind of fan service thing, and then there was this whole handing off to a younger cast, and I was like, what? The new season, the actual season, not the 6-episode miniseries that I was talking about, will cover the event series story and is basically season 11 at this point. Production begins this summer with plans to air them sometime during the 2017-2018 season. When exactly they will air is still unclear, but an early 2018 premiere seems likely, mirroring the scheduling of the 2016 revival. The 6-episode miniseries was weird, don't get me wrong, but it was so good to have Scully and Mulder back, and because I'm a total fangirl, I'll be sitting down for the new season. Don't you judge me. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. Here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex, and before I turn off the lights this week, I want to take a moment to thank you, the listening audience, for your patience with us. When we launched nearly 6 years ago, the Weekly Podioplex was built on being 15 to 30 minutes of entertainment news released every Tuesday. As you know from our current release schedule, we've kept to the weekly bit, but life's kind of gotten in the way of which day it pops out during that week. That's okay for this show, because my podcasting philosophy is, and always has been, always will be, that family and work come first for everyone involved. Work pays the bills and it keeps the roofs over our heads, and family is absolutely paramount. You're very important to us as well, and we appreciate your continued patience as we continue this journey. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, we would love to hear from you. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. You can also write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. If 140 characters or less is your thing, then you can still tweet us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke with Bullseye in his T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies: if you leave us feedback, you may hear your words on a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. We have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, Present the Transcription feature, the Dan and Travis show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you own a Roku player, you can also find us there on the Chronic Rift's Roku channel, where you can find episodes of the Chronic Rift's adventures in the 1990s when it was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. In another plug for the network, it is Parsec Award season. If you think that one of the shows I just mentioned, any of the other shows on the network, or even the Weekly Podioplex, are worth the attention of one of the most prestigious awards in podcasting, nominations are now open at parsecawards.com. If you're interested in more of my adventures, you can take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing each of those tales in the Timestamps Project. Right now, the blog is in the middle of the 18th season, the final season with the 4th Doctor, and those reviews can be found at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make at that store supports the Chronic Rift Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures in drama, comedy, and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at Guardians of the Galaxy.